Hello, agents. Welcome to the Ingress Insights podcast, hosted by Pokemon Trainer Jay. Ingress Insights aims to give you the latest news and updates about the Niantic spatial game Ingress. Whether you're a veteran agent who has recursed 17 times or a brand new agent working to level 8, wondering what a fracker is, this is your place for the latest Ingress news and discussions. 2026 sees Ingress renewed under Niantic Spatial and many new campaigns to engage agents. So, plenty to discuss. Share any thoughts by checking our social media links. Now, over to Ada.
Additional intel available.
Hello agents, I'm coming to you a bit earlier this week. You will also hear this on Sunday as well, just in case you miss it during the midweek update. But I thought it was too long to wait until Sunday to share this news, seeing as it effectively happens on Wednesday. On the 9th of March, the Ingress team put on their blog, pausing OPR and retiring Overclock. They said, on Wednesday, March 11, 2026, we will pause access to Operation Portal Recon, pause new portal nominations and edits, and retire Overclock. In order to better align our AR feature Overclock with our updated Niantic spatial priorities, we'll pause some of our legacy efforts so that we can redesign new ways to improve our game with the latest generation of spatial technology. Our goal is to make sure we can support our Ingress community for the long term. In the short term, this means focusing our time on campaigns and global ops and improving our game's infrastructure. In the longer term, we recognise the importance of having a high quality updated portal network, and we'll work on new ways we can better support our mapping initiatives like OPR in the future. Brian, before I get into kind of the community sentiment for it, which I'm assuming you can already guess, I want to go through a few comments because they are kind of spotted around on Blue Sky and in Brian's comments on there. Brian confirmed that the SEER medal progress will also be paused along with this change. He noted, I think incentivizing improving the quality of the portal network over the quantity of new portals added to the map would at some time in the future also help to activate or engage more agents and help more players earn their CML or higher tiers. I did go on a bit of a rant at Brian and said that I'm saying for a while, I said in the last episode, so when he's head up Recon, I know they don't have the same resources as Wayfarer, but there still needs to be something for agents to add new portals on there. He said, looking back on the last few months of OPR being open to level 16s, I want to learn more about how the system works end to end, and I have a clearer idea now. In the years before Niantic Space, it wasn't something that Ingress team operated, it was its own team. The portal map is important to Ingress, and the contributions agents made over the last 13 years are incredible, but I don't think we should leave OPR in its current as is state, and with the resource we have today, we're going to need time to make changes. I did highlight that, obviously, before Wayfarer was a thing, the Ingress team were running OPR, but I didn't get a response back to that. So I know there's lots of things that I mentioned they should have on there, like upgrades and forums and working appeals. That would be great. So I get it needs time to work on and for things to change, but it's still a bit crap, to be fair. And Brian also said he didn't know what volume of reviews OPR would see after spinning out into Niantic Spatial, and what the effect of not having access to Emily, the ML system that Wayfarer users, would be, or what kinds of abuse a small number of level 16s would engage in. No, I did not know these things when we spun out into Niantic Spatial. I think that's also a bit disingenuous. I think they should have had some idea, because I'm assuming that for the Wayfarer challenges, when they got provided OPR live rewards and certain item rewards, they would be able to communicate with the Wayfarer team and see what the abuse was. Maybe they thought it was just all Pokemon Go players doing it and they didn't need to worry about anything for level 16 Ingress players, but obviously learned their lesson there. For Blue Skies, some of the comments there, it was acknowledged that for some agents, adding their team portals is a whole thing. For others, it might be the connection with others or the exercise or competitive territory control. We've paused here and OPR before, and I think these changes will give our team some needed time to reprioritize and focus. A question was asked about the submissions and edits that are still pending, and they'll basically be frozen in time, so they won't progress anywhere. You won't get votes on them. I've no idea whether you'll still be able to log into Recon and see them. And then regarding Overclock, someone asked about whether the Overclock portals would disappear, become normal P8s or anything like that. and it was responded back that Overclock will be retired, including the current set of Overclock All portals. The Tesseract will be removed from the portals, but the portals will remain, so that will disappear at some point on the 11th. Brian also clarified you're still able to do portal scans, so even though there's no Overclock to activate, you can still do the portal scans, get the battle beacon, get the fracker, that kind of way you could normally on there, but I don't know what happens to scan data and where that goes, whether they're still using it. And then there was a similar response on Blue Sky where someone asked about it and they said, we learned from having OPR open to only level 16 what volume of reviews and also what kinds of abuse we might expect by opening it to more players and need to make some changes. With Overclock, our Niantic Spatial SDK is evolving, so we plan to update how we use the ingress too, but there's no details as to why on there and what's happening. As you can guess, community sentiment is not great, especially with 2 days' notice on these changes happening and it being whisked away fairly quickly. OPR was only back on the 10th of November, so we're like less than 6 months down the line, it's already being paused again. Who knows for how long this time? It's also, the wording is kind of terrible as well. So they're saying that they're focusing their time on campaigns and global ops, the majority of campaigns obviously being paid campaigns on there at the moment. So it does feel a bit like, sorry, you didn't pay enough to keep OPR and Overclock going. So it's probably not meant that way, but it does kind of read that way looking at it. So yeah, I'm annoyed as well because I spent a lot of time doing Recon, finding new portals to nominate as well. I spent a lot of time doing Wayfarer previously. I stopped doing that because Recon came online, so I may have to dip back into Wayfarer now to keep doing that. But it will be very annoying visiting a new area and realizing I can't nominate any new portals there, because that was the same thing for when it was down for a little while. I know agents made plans, took photos, things like that, and planned to go out and nominate. But with having no timescale at all, whether it will be years down the line it comes back, and who knows how it'll open up, who it's open to, and how they proceed with it from there. I know they need more resource on it, but who knows when they're going to get that and how they're going to get that if they are. I've also seen a lot of players saying they'll just stop doing scans now because they were doing to activate Overclock, not really for the 2 scan badges that are there. So I think Ingress will be annoyed they're getting less data now from that, from agents, because that was some people's main thing for playing was doing Overclock. I think it's just been poorly communicated overall. Like I said, all the bits over Reddit and Blue Sky that should all be in the blog, so there's kind of FAQ on there, but instead you've got nothing when you log into OPR. You can't see a banner that says it's going to close down soon. There's no time when it's going to close on Wednesday, so your guess is as good as mine. So yeah, I think it's all been a bit rapidly organised and quickly done, and there should have been more resource from it from the start. It would have been fine to delay the opening of Recon whilst they figured all that out, and sure they'd have some idea from the time spent on Wayfarer. I don't buy that they didn't know the level of abuse. So yeah, that's all. I want to cover that before Sunday. But I will include this in Sunday's episode as well. And I don't know what I'll do with the recon section going forward on there, whether I'll still go through the criteria clarification when it's back up, but maybe completely different, or we'll just have to have another section there instead. The podcast might get a bit shorter without the recon news. That's all for this little bit, agents. So hope you've had a good day. Hope the news hasn't ruined things too much for you. And I'll get into the next bit of the episode now if you're listening on Sunday. If you're listening on Tuesday when I release this, then it'll be the wrap up now. Thank you, agents, for listening to the latest episode of the Ingress Insights podcast. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can do that in a couple of ways. So the easiest way to support the podcast is via Patreon. So you can find at patreon.com/ingressinsights. And there's a free tier, a $1 a month tier, whatever that is in your local currency, and a $5 a month tier. You can check out what benefits those come with on the Patreon. One other thing you can do that's totally free that helps out a lot is rating the podcast on your podcast service of choice. So where you can leave a rating or leave comments, that always helps increase visibility. And then finally, you can follow us on various social media channels. We use most of them, but the best one to follow us on now is Blue Sky. So that's just ingressinsights.bsky.social. Search for Ingress Insights on Blue Sky, you'll find us on there. Finally, sharing the podcast with friends, family, other agents who want to listen and get updates really helps out and helps get interviews with various Ingress people or other game related people to then increase visibility more. So anything you can do from those is great. Thanks again for listening, agents. Have a great day.
Intel package transferred.